What's up, guys? Today's video is on how to replace the oil seal on your countershaft on a newer model KX450. But more importantly, how not to mess this up, because this design on these bikes lends itself to making a very easy mistake. And so hopefully this will save you some time and some money when fixing this. Okay, so here's what happened to me. I rebuilt this motor, split the case, bottom end rebuild, everything. Oil seal was good, it was right where it's supposed to be, but on these bikes, you've got this rim here where it's supposed to sit, and then that orange there is the sealed side of the bearing for the transmission. And if you have the oil seal on this lip where it's supposed to be, there's a bit of a gap back there. So this oil seal can be pushed into the case. And if you don't check it, what happens is you'll kick the bike over, or if you install it wrong, you'll kick the bike over and it's just gonna blow oil. It'll look like it's seated in there, but it's not. It's actually too far in, so it doesn't have a good seal on this lip, and it just blows oil out of there. So that's what happened to me. So what happens when you put these O-rings in, most people will take a similar size socket and drive it into place, which is fine on most bikes. And when you look at it on here, it actually looks okay. You know, it's recessed in there a little bit, but that's actually not right. It's not a proper seal on this bike. So you have to be very careful installing this. So I'm not sure about the 19s, 20 and 21 KXs, but I know that when you buy the replacement part, it's good for a 2006 to a 2018. So I'm guessing that 12-year span was all the same design. I don't know if they changed it for 19, 20, and 21. If you know, please let me know. But I know that 06 through 08 or through 18 is this design, and it can cause problems for you. All right, so I pulled out the oil seal now. For the replacement, I recommend the Tusk countershaft seal kit. I think this cost me like 16 bucks off of Rocky Mountain ATVMC plus shipping. Depends how fast you want it there. You know, they got shipping options, but it comes with the new collar, comes with a new washer for the sprocket, and then 2 different size oil rings depending on your bike. This is bike specific, but they send you 2 for whatever reason. And then if your bike requires it, if it's not a KX, this one doesn't require, but it's got this clip that you could put on there. The reason I really recommend this is you can buy all the OEM parts, but just for the seal alone, I think from any OEM part warehouse is like 12 bucks. So for the extra 4 bucks, you get the new spacer, the new collar, and 2 new O-rings. So I would definitely go with that. Plus, if you order just the OEM seal, if that O-ring, which is back here on this, you can kind of see it right there. If that O-ring's bad and you replace the seal but not the O-ring, you're still going to leak oil. And then you may have to pull the seal back out, replace the O-ring anyway. So you might as well just do both while you're at it. Okay, so we're going to install this oil seal now. Even the service and repair manual really doesn't give a good description. It seems like somebody wrote it in Japanese, put it in a translator, and just sent it off, because it actually says, if you read it, to install it from the clutch cover side. It says install from the outside clutch cover side in parentheses, which makes no sense. You can install this from the inside when you do the bearings, if you really wanted to, but the only thing it tells you is make sure it's flush with this outer surface here. Besides that, it's pretty hazy, so it's easy to mess up, and I wasn't really paying attention, just drove it in, and that's when I realized I'd done it wrong, because it was blowing oil after the rebuild. So I drove a new one in, and it went in too far, so I dug in and did a little more research, and that's, you know, kind of when I figured out it's poorly worded, but here's what they really mean. So they mean the outside of this seal flush with this face here of the case. And when you're driving this in, you know, with a socket of the right size, literally all it takes is one tap too many and it'll drop in there. So if you don't have a seal puller, you'll end up ruining the seal pulling it back out. So here's a good way to do it the easy way, and make sure it's exactly where you want it, not too far in, not too far out. You'll get a good seal. So first thing you want to do with the new seal, take a dab of grease and just put a light coat around the outside. That'll help it slide on here better. And there's two different sides to these seals. There's this one with the deep groove that goes towards the motor, and the flat surface goes towards the outside. In other words, the surface with the etching on it, you want it facing out towards you. So now take your seal and just kind of set it in place. Don't push too far, but just set it in there nice. It's too tight for you to push in too much, but kind of get it as even as you can. Just makes it go in a little bit better. Okay, so now to put this seal into place exactly where it should be, you can take your new washer or your old one if it's in good shape, and the concave side goes in. So feed that on. Next, take your sprocket, and we're just going to use the nut to help push this into place to get a good seal. So put on the nut, and now we're just going to tighten it down incrementally. And you want to watch up above here and tighten it as that seal goes into place. You can put your biking gear too, that'll help. All right, so I apologize, this camera angle is not the best, but you can see your seal right there. You want it to be flush with this surface, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And then you just take your socket that fits the nut for your sprocket and just slowly work it in until it's flush. Okay, so I tightened down just a little bit more. I'm almost there. It just needs a little bit more tightening, and we'll be there. And that should stop our oil leak. When you get to this part, just go very, very slow. Don't turn too fast, because if you go too far, you just undone all the progress you did. So tighten a little bit, check, tighten a little bit more, check again. Okay, so that actually worked perfect. The spacer behind the sprocket, which normally it goes sprocket, spacer, nut. If you put the spacer, sprocket, nut, about the time the sprocket gets pretty tight on there, not torque spec tight, but when it gets tight and you feel some real resistance, that's about the perfect spot. And it put the seal right exactly flush, right where it needs to be. So I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall the rest of it and see if this stopped the oil leak. Okay, so now that we got the seal right where it needs to be, we're gonna reinstall the rest of the parts and make sure, we're gonna kick it over and make sure that there's no leak anymore and everything's seated right where it should be. All right, so the next step, we already replaced the O-ring inside on the shaft. So just take a dab of grease, give a good little shot to the outside and the inside of this collar here, which is gonna go in right there. And you want to make sure the grooved side, which is hard to see, there you go. So it's got these two grooves, they go inside towards the motor. It's gonna be a tight fit, so just work it in there back and forth a little bit until you feel it hit the stop. And there you go, oil seal's installed. We'll kick it over and make sure it runs without leaking oil. And that should be it. Thanks for watching. All right, no oil leaks, seals properly installed, perfect. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope this helped.